Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Find My Team Conversations. My name is Barb Smith, and we have an awesome topic today. Mindset mastery for female athletes. How to take charge of your mind before it takes charge of you. And Larissa, I got to tell you, this is an awesome topic for all student athletes, but any female student athlete out there, or coach or parent who wants to learn more and be aware of this, you should listen in. This is a great topic, and we have an awesome expert, somebody who's very passionate about this topic and completely immersed in it, which is why you're the perfect guest for our show. So Larisa Makuch, she's dedicated to helping high achieving women stop settling and have a rich, empowering, and fulfilling life that they want and they love. I love that already. She's a CEO of Abundance Academy, and the information is below. So you can check out her website, check out her services. Awesome slew of things that you can look at and learn from on her website. It's her mission to help people radically expand their lives and the lives of future generations across the globe by revolutionizing how people think and empowering them to make courageous choices. This is the recruiting process, courageous choices. So this is it's going to come in very handy for all of us here at Find My Team. With ruthless compassion, engaging and powerful programming, Larisa blends timeless principles, unstoppable confidence, authenticity, and empowerment into all of her programming. And you're also going to love her attitude. It's what attracted me right off the bat the first time I met her. So you guys are going to love her. She's savvy. She's a sought after speaker. She's an author, master results coach, trainer, and educator. And can I just say this quote? We are real humans and like to dream, play, and have fun. We love stepping ahead in our lives with elegance and grace and unapologetically captivating the hearts of those who cross our path. That is you. That is her. In her downtime comes the fun stuff. You'll find Larisa dancing. She is an athlete, enjoying music, playing dress up, creating adventures through travel, tapping into nature in cottage country, enjoying the nooks and crannies of Toronto, Canada, and living her active and best self with her husband and her son. Please welcome Larisa Makuch. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for joining us here at Find My Team Conversations.
Thank you for having me, Barb. I am so honored and so blessed to be here. I can't wait to have this conversation. I know it's going to be a good one, and it's going to get people thinking and shifting their minds in some new ways. So
absolutely. So before we start, you have to tell us one fun fact about yourself.
Okay. All right. So I am Ukrainian, and I always had this dream as a little girl. When I was a little girl, I had a dream, and I always wanted one of those like week-long weddings in Ukraine with the mountains and just being in the village with tall grass. And then I moved to, I grew up in Canada. So I'm like, I don't know how that's going to happen. However, my husband and I, we used to go to Ukraine on dance tours each summer. And one year, 5 weeks before we left, I am sitting in my office and I'm clipping magazines for a vision board. And I find this, "Will you marry me?" And I'm sitting there in my old sweatpants and stuff. And I'm like, "Come here."
Oh.
And I'm on the floor, and then I hold up this note, and he's like, what? And it says, "Will you marry me?" So I proposed to him, and then we ended up eloping and not telling our family. And we got married in Europe, in the mountains, on a dance tour, stress-free, really fun. We just had the most beautiful experience. So it wasn't a 5-day wedding. It was a 1-day wedding, plenty at that point. And we had horses. We got married in an old church, and we hired photographers and videographers because we didn't invite our family. We had a party back home afterwards. And we figured if none of them were there, none of them would be upset. So that video has over 100,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
That is crazy. And
wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
It's our little wedding, but we were in costumes, our dance friends were there. And it was just the most beautiful experience. And what was really meaningful was that we were both doing something that we were passionate about, because we'd been dancing our entire lives and we were artistic directors at the time. And both my husband and I, like, that was something we truly had in common, and we were able to share that with each other. So
I love that. I love that. And to be, to be able to do it in Ukraine, which is just amazing. And,
yeah,
thinking about all those people in that country and you as well, while that mess is going on over there.
yeah, it's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right, we're going to dive in here and just talk about this because I know in the lives of so many, and right now we're just going to talk about female athletes, but there'll be other people watching this as well. But there's so many athletes, especially coming through the pandemic now, where mindset is so important, just in coming back and fully engaging in sports and society and school. And some people are kind of floundering a little bit. So this topic is on point, and it's going to be perfect to be able to share some stories and tools and resources for some of these young women. So describe for our viewers what a healthy mindset looks like and what that feels like from your expert experience.
Yeah. So when it really comes down to it, like, you want to think about what mindset is, just to start. And a mindset is an established set of attitudes that are held by someone. And attitudes are a combination of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. This is me making up bicep curls right there.
Looks great.
Okay, so what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're acting, and that ultimately leads to your results. And some people think mindset is just these thoughts that you have or things roaming around in your head, but it really is the set of attitudes that you present to yourself and to the world. It really is about loving yourself, loving your work or your craft, and loving your life. Do you wake up each day and look forward to your days? Things may not always go right, but do you generally love and appreciate yourself? And I have a 5-year-old son, and he's full of words of wisdom. And sometimes he'll be sitting with me. He's like, Mom, he does this at least once a week. He's like, sometimes I don't like you. Always love you. And when we're doing things that aren't as elegant, we may not like parts of our life, but overall, do we really love it? Do we have that fire in our belly? And do we know we're moving forward with authenticity, with grace, in the right direction?
Yeah, that's powerful right there. So to somebody that might be new to this, how would they start? Like, how would you start maybe looking at your mindset, or you kind of said talk to your, or you come up with these things that are important to you. How would you start doing that?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, like I said, it's a thought, feeling, and actions that lead to your results. So you can start looking at what your results actually are. Are your results what you want? Are your results good? Are your results are an indicator of where your belief system and your paradigms are set. You could take a look at your feelings. Feelings are important. As humans, we should feel all kinds of emotions. However, do you generally feel fairly confident, clear, in control? Do you feel a wide range of emotions at appropriate times? There are times where it's appropriate to be angry. There are times where it's appropriate to be sad, but is that your dominant state? Or do you flow through different states at appropriate times? Can you be calm? Or a lot of people, when you think of the word emotions, it's like happy, sad, angry. And Brene Brown has a beautiful resource on emotions, a whole book on emotions and what these emotional states really are. But when you start learning what emotional states are and how you can feel in these different emotional states, you can start managing situations in a much more elegant way. Like when you run the drills as an athlete, and when you're little, you know a few drills, right? When you're just starting a sport, you know the basics. And then as you evolve, you get into more advanced techniques. But as your vocabulary expands, you can pick and choose from these things, and they become embedded in you. And so really paying attention to those emotions and start noticing how you feel as a sign, as an indicator. You can start paying attention to the talk or the self-talk. So your self-talk is what's in your head. Your talk is what comes out of your mouth. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of your mouth is an indicator of what's in your head. And if you actually listen to the words you say, you might be amazed at what might be happening inside your head. If you actually listen to what other people what comes out of other people's mouths, you might be amazed at what people are actually saying if you really listen to the words. And even if you look at your actions, like, are you showing up and just showing up to practice just to show up to practice? Or are you showing up maybe 10 minutes in advance to get yourself ready, not because your parents told you, because you want to? Are you showing up prepared? Are you getting yourself ready? What are you doing to really have that mindset that you value, you love, and respect yourself? So those are thoughts, feelings, actions will lead to results. You can look at any one of those things as an entry point to indicate where you're at.
So maybe, you know, even if I'm hearing you right, you kind of have to start maybe looking inward and paying attention, because
Wake up and pay
life is so fast. What's that?
Wake up and pay attention. There's Sister Act 2, when that old Whoopi Goldberg movie.
I love that movie.
Okay, I love the song. I wanted to use it in my book, but we didn't get the licensing rights for it. But it's like that, wake up and pay attention, right? Like, you've got to wake up and pay attention. And when you do, it's great. It's a great message. I think it's something that we should all start to do more of, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent. When you start to wake up and pay attention, you start to notice so much more.
Yes, that's great.
You start to actually live when you do that.
And do you think while that's going on, you should maybe capture some of that with writing it down, or do you just let it come in and go out and you're just aware?
You know what? Oh boy, that's a big topic. Being aware is step one. I would say if you're a writer and it makes you feel good to write, then write it down. If it feels good to share, then share with someone. But what you want to really focus on is sharing the good stuff, acknowledging the things that are working well. Like, wow, this is moving me in the right direction. That's so cool.
Awesome.
We want to still recognize when things aren't working well. However, when you have that healthy mindset, you could be like, wow, I did a really great job of this. Pat myself on the back, give myself a high five. I've worked with a lot of children. So
I like that.
Round of applause. I'll even do this
Yeah.
even now. It's so silly. It's so ridiculous. 5-year-olds love it, but when you do it to yourself, you feel silly. However, you commend yourself for it. So however you want to celebrate, do what's right for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, in your experience, what are some things that get in the way of this whole thing? So some of the barriers that people hit when they're trying to sort of walk through this process.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like these mental barriers that are stopping us from achieving the desired mindset that we want, and especially in athletics, mindset is so important, because when you're thinking well, you can perform well. When your mindset isn't there, when your head's not in the game, it's really hard to deliver results, because you're not present, you're not there, your mind is elsewhere, your body's elsewhere, and you're just never going to be as sharp. So these mental barriers, I would say, like, number one is your belief and self-worth, like belief in yourself. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your abilities? And sometimes we can really approach this in a couple of different ways. When it comes to our wiring, we can either be very self-reflective, right? You know, you're doing a good job when it's coming from you, and it could be totally just coming from you. It might be that it has to come from other people, right? Some people are wired and they need that praise and recognition from outside sources. And one of the most effective and healthy ways to exist and to live is when deep down, you know, you're doing a good job and other people tell you, and it's just like, yeah, that is good reinforcement. You know, you did your best in a game, and the outcome reflects that. Or maybe you get a praise, you get a compliment, you get some external recognition out of it. And when you're in that middle ground, that's so empowering that if you always need other people to tell you you're doing a good job and you don't have that, the belief system is not going to be conducive to you moving forward. Another thing that's really huge, especially in athletics, I see it in business all the time, is the pressure of perfection. Perfection,
Yes,
got to be perfect, got to do it right.
for
And
sure.
that perfectionism is often, it's unattainable. There's no perfection because you are a perfect being. And when you start to get into that pressure of perfection, you're doing it to please others. There's a people pleasing aspect to it. You're constantly beating yourself down instead of lifting yourself up. And no matter how good you get, there's always going to be a part of you that's got that ball and chain that's restricted. So maybe in one aspect, you might be flying in this perfectionist mode, yet there's going to be another part that's going to be restricted when you are in this perfectionist mode. You never want to carry the identity of a perfectionist. However, you can have extremely high standards. You can do a brilliant job. You can be an impeccable athlete. You can get outstanding results. Just realize that's not your identity.
Yeah.
That's a reflection of everything that's inside.
That is a tough one. That's a tough one I've found from coaching, is to try to get female student athletes, over the hump of, it doesn't have to be perfect every single day, every single time. And the pressure to do so, the pressure to perform, it gets so great that, you come up to the free throw line at the end of a game for a basketball player, or you are the final batter in a softball game, or it's the final, opportunity in volleyball to score. The pressure sometimes takes over. And so, a batter strikes out or misses, or you miss the free throw, or you send the ball out of bounds in volleyball, because they're not even in the moment. And it's so hard to be in there. So what would you say to somebody you're in the game, the play is coming to you, and you have to deliver, to just stay in, the calm, if you can use that word.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things with that. When you're focusing on, I have to get it, I have to do this, I have to perform, your body, your cells, your muscles, there's going to be an element of tension. And that tension, I mean, you may get the result, you may not, but that element of tension is going to take you out of this like state of complete ease. And what's really important when it comes to some of these high pressure situations is, can you perform with ease and grace under pressure? Can you almost like allow time to stand still? One of the most beautiful things that we work with in neurolinguistic programming is this idea of modeling. Like when the most successful batter, steps up to the plate, not just what is he doing with his physical body? How is his heart beating? How is he breathing? What is he thinking? When you really start to know, and can start seeing inside people and model those things and practice those things and create these experiences for yourself, right? Live that moment in advance. When you're practicing, don't just practice to swing the ball, practice to just be extremely calm, become extremely confident, become extremely comfortable with what you're doing, so you could do it with your eyes closed, and it's joyful and it's bliss. And we call it calm down to speed up, not necessarily slow down to speed up. I had a mentor, Bob Proctor, and he passed away earlier this year. And he's like, I don't want people to slow down to speed up, because, I'm 86 and I am moved faster than people half my age. However, I can get a lot done in a really calm and confident way. I don't have to rush through things. And I think being able to calm yourself down and let time stand still and just be so confident in yourself, your abilities, that the outcome itself doesn't matter. You're going to get the result. because you're going to just know in your heart of hearts, I'm going to align with the ball. I'm going to connect to the ball. I want to connect to the ball. This is fun. This is powerful.
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience. That's a good attitude.
That's a great attitude. Every coach wants that attitude in the players.
Yeah. You also mentioned, sorry, just to go back, you mentioned like female student athletes tend to feel this need to be perfectionist and perfect every day. Your best every day, right? There's Carol Dweck, hold a couple books, right? She wrote the book Mindset, and she really talks about this idea of doing your best. It's not, did you get it done? Did you do your best? And your best may be different each and every day. Girls get something called a period, right? Yes. You may need to have a different kind of flow in your energy or a different warm-up routine on days where things like that happen. There's other times of the month where you are just on fire. And you may adjust accordingly, right? That's an example of getting to know yourself better than anyone else. Like even just working with your natural cycles and honoring them and realizing your best looks different on different days. It's not an excuse or a cop-out. It's just, what is my best today? And am I actually giving my best?
I love that. Your best is not your best. Your best, say it one more time.
Oh, I don't know if I can. I'm glad
your best is not your best every day. It's different. Your best is different.
Your best is different every single day.
Yeah.
And because your days are different. You have monthly cycles. We have seasonal cycles in sports. We have rest cycles. We have daily cycles. We have a cycle in a game. And when you start to know your rhythms, this is something we connect to with the laws of the universe. But when you start to know the rhythms or what your rhythms are or what the cycles are, you can start working with them. And then you know where you are in the flow, you know your place, you know how to adapt. And it's so much easier to just course correct.
Yeah, that's great. So, okay, so you've mentioned some of these, but look, okay, let's just lay out some tools. Let's lay out some tools for female student athletes when they're thinking about, I want to do this. I want to get a better mindset. Let's talk about those tools.
Okay. I think one of the biggest things, I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole with tools, but I want to make them really simple and really applicable. And the first is acknowledge what's right.
What's going right?
What's going right, what you're doing well, what other people are doing well. Because so often there is this need to fix. Really awesome to get better and fix all your problems. However, your unconscious mind it's like a missile, and it gets programmed to focus on whatever you're focusing on. So if you're always focusing on fixing, then you're going to have more stuff to fix.
Yeah.
What if you decide to really acknowledge everything you're doing well and fix one thing at a time? Because really you can't multitask. You can only fix one thing at a time. And you decide to maybe not fix it, but what if you just decide to make it even better?
Great.
Probably not very bad. It's probably pretty good in the grand scheme of things. But what if you, instead of focusing on fixing even the linguistics of that, it makes a difference. Instead of fixing your problems, I'm going to notice everything I do well, and I'm going to find one thing I can do even better. And I'm going to master that one thing and get so good at it that I can do it in my sleep.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to fall in love with it. And I'm going to keep making these like 1% improvements a day, 1% improvements at a time, and keep getting better. So acknowledge what's right and keep getting better at, I'm putting my finger up for a reason, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. I spent a decade working in the Pilates world in post-rehab. Another fun fact. I'm not sure if I mentioned that to you.
Pilates, yeah.
Pilates, I love Pilates. So we used to train all kinds of people. But you can't give 20 or 30 cues. You can't fix 20 or 30 things at once. You do a movement, you repeat something. You do another movement, you repeat the same thing. You do another movement, you repeat it. And they're like, oh, I get what you're talking about. It takes repetition to embed it in the neurology. Repetition, Tony Robbins says, is the mother of skill. And to embed these new behaviors, these new movements, these new habits in your neurology, you need to repeat, repeat, repeat. And not just repeat, repeat to the best of your ability. Repeat exactly how you want it to be. Quality over quantity. Because if I'm sure you've heard of that study with basketball, right? You're in the basketball world where there was a team that practiced, right? They practiced their basketball drills every day and they did the free throws. Then there was a team that visualized every day for a month. And then a month later, they did whatever the criteria were. And then there was a team that just didn't do anything. Well, the teams that practiced physically every day and visualized every day were almost equivalent. And so the power of really using your mind to pre-think things in advance, to pre-do them in advance, to get yourself in the mindset, if you layer that on top of the practice and show up as like this holistic, beautiful being, you're going to get a better outcome. And it might be fun. I don't know what it's like where you're from, but we often say fun is the Canadian F word because most of us don't know how to have it.
I love that.
Right? It's like you can have fun while you're doing it. It's okay. And what parts are fun for you?
And
Right?
do those a lot.
Right. Do those more because you're gonna want to do them. So in terms of tools, like acknowledge what's right, do your best, have fun, like recognize what's fun and do things that are fun. And sometimes they're going to be in the athletic world. Sometimes they're totally different. I had a colleague who was just rocking it in business, and then she achieved every business goal. And then she was like, I just don't care about any other business goal. Nothing's motivating me. I don't know what to do. And then she was prompted and she was like walking through a mall one day and heard the piano playing over the PA system. She heard like just elevator music playing. And she's like, oh, I want to play piano. And she'd never played piano in her life, but she always wanted to do it when she was a little girl. And she started playing piano and she had that sense of fulfillment. She had something that was fun for her and her business thrived even more. So this is not let's steer away from our focus, but it's like, is there something you can do for 5 minutes, 20 minutes a day that is fun? It might be part of what you're doing, or it might even look different. Go get a coloring book, do a puzzle, go bowling once a week, go do something fun with friends or fun with yourself. Read a book, whatever works for you, but have more fun and bring that joy into your life. Because when you feel good, you're going to want to have better outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you feel good, you can lift up other people around you to feel good. And it's really a contagious, fun factor that really can energize an entire team. I have found that. I have seen that on teams. And you mentioned this fun. I'm just going to say this, that, when you're a young athlete, youth sports, in any sport, you're playing most of the time because you're having fun. No different. But as you get older and you go through you're getting better, you're getting better. For some reason, the fun stays back in youth and you have to get so serious. At least that's the mindset, but you really should bring the fun. As you're saying, bring it with you and keep it with you and continue to have fun while you're getting better.
Well, that's what the Mighty Ducks, right? The Mighty Ducks movies, they have a beautiful way of just bringing the fun back to the game. They always like get serious and then they bring the fun back to the game. And as soon as they bring the fun back, that's what takes them over the edge. Yeah. And it's a great metaphor. You can use those types of examples in your own training, or you can bring fun in other aspects. But when you do have fun, like you said, fun is contagious. And that's the kind of thing you want to have that's contagious these days, right?
No doubt.
That's the kind of thing you want to be like spreading and sneezing all over the place.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, more fun.
That should be the epidemic for sure.
It can be. So that's everyone's challenge.
That's a good challenge. That's one we should all take on, actually. Yeah. So I'm a student athlete, and this is usually how this goes. Not for everybody, but for a lot of young women, they're student athletes, but they become athletes first, students second. And this third part of them, the person, gets shelved. It gets put away. They don't bring that out much or give that much attention. And again, we've kind of been talking about this, but student athlete, is very important. Athlete student is not as, people don't think that's as good. Okay, so it should be, your academics, you never know, you could end playing sports. So keep that student in front. But what we all forget, coaches, parents, and the student athlete, is the person. So it's sort of like, she's a person student athlete, not just a student athlete or not just an athlete student, but the person part is hardly ever worked on. And so when you leave high school or college, you have done very little work on the person part, and that's a struggle for some people. What is your advice for that?
I think this really comes down to priority, right? Prioritizing. And when you know that you are number one, right? You've got to put yourself first. Then you connect to God or spirituality. I'm not referencing any particular religion, or if you don't believe in God, maybe the universe, the divine, whatever works for you, whatever terminology, but some kind of spirituality, some kind of higher connection to something bigger in the world. And then your mission, which may, and at this point, will very likely involve sports and being a student. And so when you really do start to prioritize yourself and get to know yourself better than anyone else, you can start setting boundaries. When you know who you are, what you stand for, what your boundaries are, you're going to know what's right for you. And you really need to just, I think even just you asking this question, I think it's a great question, because by you asking this question, it's going to be thought provoking to other people. They're going to be like, oh, am I an athlete first or my student? Do I get to cop out of my academic abilities for practice? Because it's easier, it's more fun. But you're not a student athlete. You're not an athlete student. You're you first. And this is really about you knowing who you are. So connect to God or spirituality. I think a great way to do that is through a gratitude practice, or even just being quiet. Just being quiet. Because in the moment, like the word silent has the same letters as the word listen. And you need to be silent in order to listen. You can't hear the messages that are supposed to come to you if you're always on the go, go, go. And it doesn't mean you have to meditate for an hour a day, but what if you just sat in quiet for 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
I love
God
that.
forbid you might do it for 20 minutes.
You might lose track of time.
Which research shows if you meditate for 20 minutes, it's really, really good for your energy fields, for your brain waves, for your focus, for everything else. It will actually sharpen so much more in your life. Like even if you just sit in quiet or you say thank you, you could write out a gratitude practice. You could just say thank you. You could walk down the street as you're going somewhere and you could be grateful for the things you see, for the things you experience, for the things that have happened to you in your life, for who you are, for the people that are in your life. That could be a spiritual practice. So, and then the mission comes. Then everything else comes into play. But you want to really have a goal and know what that goal is. And that goal has got to be yours. It can't be someone else's. And sometimes I think when we're in this world of athletics, parents or coaches or friends, we get caught up in the hype. And when the goal is for you, it's always going to get a better outcome. When the goal is for someone else, you might be able to keep up. It's not going to be long lasting. And if it is longer lasting, it's not going to be joyful for you. So this is really where you get to know yourself and why you're doing it. Are you doing it to please others, or are you really doing it for yourself? And sometimes you might start things to please other people. But what if you fall in love with it? What if you really allow yourself to recognize your gifts and your talents? Because chances are, if you've spent this much time in a sport, there's a part of that is natural to you, that you have natural God-given gifts for. And what if you can find that spark and connect with that to you? So it's really about you prioritizing, right? It's not about what's more important. It's about what's more important to me. What is that direction? And am I doing it out of abundance, knowing that there's more to come, or am I doing it out of scarcity? Like, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my chance. There's a very different energy, and you want to do it for the abundant reasons. You want to be pulled towards that.
So powerful. So powerful. Okay. So, okay, we're going to do this little exercise then. Okay, Larissa, I'm a student athlete and I love what you're saying, but I get up at, 5 a.m. and I have to go work out, and then I have to go to school, and then I have to go to work or practice after school, and then I have to go to work after that, and then I have to come home and make dinner for my family, and then I've got to do my own homework, and it is just so my life is so filled with so many things, because I need to keep my grades up, and I'm trying to get a scholarship or a spot on a roster somewhere. I understand what you're saying, but I just don't know. 5 minutes a day, I don't know. 20 minutes, no way.
Yeah.
How can you help me?
Yeah. So first of all, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to keep your grades up. You don't need to go to sports. You don't need to pay your taxes. You don't need to do anything. Sometimes it feels this way, especially when we're young. We're like, oh, I have to, I need. Those have a hold on us, right? They're like handcuffs. And you're choosing to do this stuff. It might be a very good choice to do all those things. However, ultimately, you do have a choice. And I think realizing and recognizing that you have a choice in your own life, you're an active participant, you're not just a zombie. That's a blessing, because there's a charity that we've supported, Unstoppable Foundation, and they teach leadership principles to kids in Africa. And these kids walk to school, and they go to school an hour or two early every single day just to train and learn more, because it's such a gift to go to school. A lot of students over the pandemic, they were like out of school training online. It was a gift to go back and be around human beings. Sometimes when you forget the gifts you have in your life and the choices that you have available to you, this is where you recognize, okay, my life is a choice. So first and foremost, change your perspective on it and change your attitude, because a lot of people that are very successful can get a lot done. Okay. And I was that person. I had 3 jobs. I danced 3 or 4 days a week. I had 2 younger brothers. We did cooking, cleaning, laundry. We made dinner most of the nights, right? Like we had a very active household. Oh yeah. And piano. And I was in 4 bands, and I was on the honors roll. Like I didn't even question it. It just happened, and it wasn't hard. I just expected to do it. And so keep your grade. There's no need to do anything. The next thing is embrace this idea of calming down to speed up. As you do things, realize you can literally, again, only do one thing at a time. As you're doing that one thing, are you there? Are you present, or are you thinking about the 10 other things you have to do? Because if you're fully present, if you like, okay, I've got 10 minutes to do my homework, I've got 25 minutes to do my homework, I'm putting a clock on, and I'm going to do the best I can in the time I have. And I'm going to get it done. Decide to get it done in the time you have. Decision is absolutely key. When it comes to this calming down to speed up, you could sit for the 2 to 5 minutes. And if you can't sit for 5 minutes, you're probably not prioritizing your time. You might be busy, but even for 5 minutes, people may not have 20 minutes, but people could have 5 minutes. Wake up 5 minutes earlier. Or while you're having your breakfast, commit to not look, like flip your phone around, take it away from you. While you're having your breakfast, just sit and eat your food and taste your food.
That's great. Yeah. That's some good
Breathe,
stuff.
breathe in and out. Breath work. So many amazing benefits can come from breath work, including mental health, reduction of anxiety, depression, and so many other conditions. And most athletes breathe too much, and they breathe the wrong way. James Nestor has a fabulous book. I would highly recommend it. Because if you're over breathing, you're going to be in that parasympathetic nervous system. However, if you calm down, you're going to be or if you're over breathing, you're in the sympathetic nervous system. When you're calming down, you're in that parasympathetic nervous system. And it's great to have that adrenaline rush when you're in the game, but you can't live your life that way. It's not sustainable. So while you're moving through your day, this is really where you do things like breathe. This is where you do things like say thank you, even if it's in transit, even if it's as you're moving along. One of the other things I do is I work with a lot of clients that feel they have no time, and I teach them to use a calendar. And it's amazing that when you actually use a calendar, how much more time can get freed up. And when you use a calendar intelligently, which is totally probably not sexy for a high school kid. However, I had a mom I was working with, and she's like, I am so stressed with my kids. And I hate Mondays because that's when it starts all over again. And when she learned how to use her calendar, she's like, wow, I look forward to Mondays, and I've never had more fun in my life. And I have time to do things that I didn't think I had.
Wow.
All she did was use her calendar and color code it. So it's really just embracing this idea that you are in charge of your life. You don't need to do anything. Make decisions about how you're showing up. Calm down to speed up, whether it's for 5 minutes at a time or during your day, during your activities, and really be aware of how you want to show up. Do you want to rush from one thing to another and always be stressed? Or when you're on TV, if you're aiming to be a pro athlete, how do you want to show up when you're that pro athlete? That's how you got to show up now, with elegance, with grace, with composure. And not just when you're in front of a camera, but when you're eating your breakfast, when you're going to practice, when you're getting feedback from your coach, when you've got extra homework. How would that person show up to their day?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Great advice, great tips. And I got to tell you this funny thing about the breathing. You know, your day's pretty busy. So what you're just saying, you know, just find 2 minutes, 5 minutes just to sit and breathe, sit in breakfast, sit in something and be there. And so I have this thing in my car when I'm driving, and it's called Waze. If anybody knows, Waze is like a
Yep.
GPS thing. And you can put whatever voice on that you want. And so I had this like meditative voice on mine.
Oh, cool.
And so, you know, she says, you know, you're going to turn right. You're going to take this exit, turn right. And then she goes, now's a great time to take a deep breath. And
Oh
so
my
I find myself doing it. Like I find myself breathing like that, take a deep breath while I'm taking my right turn in my car. And so when you're saying that, I thought, yes, I'm like incorporating this right here.
I'm going to look for that voice on Waze. I did not know you could change it, but that sounds really, really cool. I've got Waze myself.
Yeah. Yeah. She has some good things in there that she says while you're driving.
Yeah. And even like you could be driving somewhere and just breathe. If you feel like your heart's racing, if you're feeling pressure as you're walking to class, literally just breathe. And like 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out, that's going to help calm your nervous system and get you into a receptive state where you can actually show up with that calm and confident state. You can still be energized, but you don't have to be frantic.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's energized, and then there's frantic. No one wants to be like this. And sometimes we feel like this.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like
this
is busy. Busy is not cool. Busy is not cool.
I'm so busy. I'm so busy.
Yeah. Stop saying you're so busy. You may have a lot of things in your life, but your perception of reality is going to dictate your reality. And if you keep saying you're busy, if other people say you're busy, stop saying it. Like you've made your choices, and you might have to say no to some things. However, your perception of reality is going to dictate it.
Yeah. And turn it into the gratitude. I so I'm so busy, or I hate my job or whatever. It's like, I have a job and I love my job, just.
Or even if you don't love your job, I have a job and I make money. I'm so grateful I get money. Woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah. I get to spend money.
I'm grateful that I get to earn money.
Yeah.
Right? Focus on the things that are true, because you can't say things that are false, because your unconscious mind's going to go liar, liar. And I do a whole lesson on affirmations and like really how to make sure the things you're saying to yourself are actually accepted by you, because you can't lie to yourself, because you're
Yeah.
and you're smart.
So I love this. What role, okay, so we've talked a lot about the person, the self, me, what role can coaches now? Coaches have a lot of influence on student athletes, and they spend a lot of time with them. Is there a role? Is there a way that they can help? Outside of making everybody sit still for 5 minutes or whatever, are there things that they can do to help these athletes become more aware of this mindset, and how to use it, and just how to get through games with less pressure, and just all the things?
Yeah. I think a really big thing that I see in the education system and in the world of athletics, we were often trained by like instructors from the Soviet Union. And so their teaching methods were often harsh, and you'd walk out of class crying most of the time. And that was just that's how it was. You keep going back, even though you walk out bawling your face off. However, when you really look at it, if you want kids to want to show up to class, like if you want kids to want to be there, then encouraging them, like telling them when they're doing a good job. Never give feedback, never give negative feedback without telling them what they're doing well. You did this well, you did this well, you did this well. What I'd like to see more of is this. And you always focus on, and that's a feedback sandwich. So it's going to allow the mind, right? It's going to allow the mind to go, okay, I know stuff is going to come. However, I did do something good. And it's really important that students accept the feedback, right? And that it's a way for those students to begin to do that. So tell them what they did well, tell them what they could do more of, not what sucked, more of.
Yeah, right? Good key there.
You need to use those words, because more of will tell the brain what to do, and then wrap it up. It's like, okay, looking forward to seeing it better next time. Right? What I'd like to see more of is, and don't use a negative, what I'd like to see more of is you running faster. What I'd like to see more of is you breathing while you're actually dribbling the ball. What I'd like to see more of is you focusing and being fully present. What I'd like to see, right? And if you use that language, it's going to get a way better outcome, instead of just criticizing. So feedback sandwich is huge when asking for something, because it's a much more organic way to give and receive feedback. Second is looking at differentiating the behavior versus the identity. And this is another big thing with going back to the perfectionist. You are not a perfectionist. You may have perfectionist tendencies. Even just flipping that switch. If you identify as a perfectionist versus I want this to be perfect, or I want this event or this behavior to be the best it can be, you want to differentiate who you are from what you're doing. I'm a bad student. Cancel that. That's a bad identity. Versus you're a great student and your spelling isn't where it needs to be. Let's get it there. Right? So really raising their identity as an athlete, as a human, as a student, as a person. And this is something all teachers should do more of. So raise and elevate their identity and give feedback on the behavior only. Because some of our behaviors suck. We all have bad behaviors. However, that doesn't make us bad people.
Yeah.
We are good people. We are good at something. We want to have that pristine identity and improve our behaviors. And again, focusing on doing your best. Right?
Yeah.
Get them to do their best, because their best is good enough, and realizing that their best is going to be different on different days. And their best is the best knocked down.
I think this is great information, because again, as a coach, I'm guilty of this myself. It's like next practice, next game, next drill, next, win, next, you've got to hit this free throw, next, and you forget that this is a person out there who is doing the best they can, most of the time, doing the best they can. And when you're saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, it does get heavy. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of this myself sometimes. So
We've
great.
all been there. We've all done
Yeah.
it.
And as receiver too, as on both ends of that. So you know that that's there. And it's like you said very early on in this conversation, you have to practice these things. You have to, if you sit in silence and you come back to, what was good for me, what was good. And even if I'm a coach, what was good for, Larissa and Melissa and all the different players out there. And so you can be in that mindset more often, but it does take you putting a pause on things once in a while,
Yeah.
even maybe in
Well,
the same game.
if you're in that next zone, then you're not focusing on what's happening now.
Mm.
And taking those 30 seconds after a game to say, wow, that was a great game. What was the best part? Even just like going around the room, what was the best part for you? What lit you up? What was fun for you? Really just taking a moment to let them soak in what happened so that they can carry the best forward with them in the future and then keep moving on. So
Yeah.
often it's swiping, right? Life is not a dating app.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially in the athletic world. It's like another game, another practice, another competition, another something. But if you just next it, like, what are you there for? This is what's gonna bring the joy to you, to the students, to the parents. Like even like bringing joy to the parents. Do they really want to drive their kids and drag them all over the place? Probably not. Like if their kids want to be there, if their kids are having fun, if everyone's in a positive zone, it's going to be a beautiful holistic experience for everyone. And I think especially like with parents and coaches, um, like the kids performance is going to be a partial reflection of you. However, put your own ego aside because it's not about you, it's about the kids. And you need to model the standards of excellence. That doesn't mean perfection, but how are you modeling the standards of excellence? Are you freaking out because something doesn't go your way? Or are you being like, I know you could do better. Get your ass out there because I want to see you do your best. And your best is freaking amazing. Like,
Yeah.
go get people to do their best and lift them up and set your own ego aside because it's not about you. It really is about them. And when you make it about them, they're going to want to work for you. They're going to want to do anything and everything for you because they're going to see you have their back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say about the same thing with parents then too? Like, we've talked a lot about the coach, but the parents are in a little bit different hat because they're, they're authority figures in a different way. They're obviously the mom and dad or
Yeah.
mom or dad. What's their role in all of this?
I mean, I think we all wear different hats, right? And sometimes parents are coaches. So then there's also crossover. However, what hat are you playing and what is your actual role? Sometimes parents get so involved in the game that they forget that they're parents. Parents are supposed to love their kids, support their kids, encourage their kids, cuddle their kids. Remember that they're their kid first.
Yeah.
They're a human first and not the athlete. And I guess I also realizing that your kids' choices and athletic status are not a reflection. They're not your identity as a parent. Maybe you didn't have a chance to do something and you want to live vicariously through your kid. That's not your place. If they make that decision, awesome. You can be a part of it, but remember it's their life. Your job is to love them, support them, hug them, encourage them, and remind them to do their best. Let them know that you're there for them no matter what. Because no kid wants to fear going home if they don't do a good enough job. No kid wants to disappoint their parents. I've worked with a few athletes in the breakthrough setting. Like I do personal breakthroughs, and like so often the thing they fear the most is disappointing their parents. It's like, if I don't do a good enough job, my family's going to think I'm a failure. Like that's a big cross to bear.
Absolutely.
And that's not something they should have. They need to know they're loved no matter what. However, they'll be more motivated to see their parents' eyes light up like a Christmas tree if they do a great job, they're going to want to do a better job because they're going to get so many other benefits.
I see this, even working with parents still today that, they do want what's best for their child, and they want it so bad that they'll
Yeah.
step in front of the child many, many, many times. And so
Yeah.
he or she doesn't get to be them. They don't get to be themselves. They start being and taking on the personality of whoever steps in front. And what we're trying to do, and I know you're doing this too, is try to, get parents to, you're busy, you want what's best for him or her, and you're pushing and pushing and you want something good out of it. But if you stand in the way, it's going to become yours and not theirs. And that's not a good situation for the student athlete.
No.
If you can get in the back seat and let them drive, they'll bring you with them. But
Yeah.
they get to drive and you empower them to drive. It's such a different experience. And you're saying the same thing here, just in life in general. It's hard for parents to do that though, because protective. I mean, it's more dangerous world today, and and I'm sure all that's going through their mind. But like you said, you have to switch that, turn that off, and not that you're not protective of your child, but
And everything you believe is true. Kids must fall. You must let them scrape their knee so they know that bumping their knee is not the end of the world. They can get back up again. Don't go, oh my gosh, my little baby. You
yeah,
need to let them fall and you need to let them fail, because the worst thing is not having an opportunity to fail and get back up.
yeah,
You can't do your best if you're always winning. There
yeah,
need to be times where you fall on your face and you mess up. And then you go, oh, I have an opportunity to learn something. Thank you for this. Thank you for this experience.
yeah,
Instead of being jealous of the other team that won or being angry or bitter, I wonder what they did differently that helped them play so well. Let me get curious about that, because curiosity is the gateway to a beautiful state. So when you're in a terrible state, when life is bad, get curious about something, go explore and go find some lessons to learn. And when you get into that learning state, you're going to be so much more receptive and move forward and be useful and productive, and then want to do something with your life, want to go win the game,
yes,
want,
yes, Larisa.
want to take your team with you. It's not complicated
Yes,
stuff. We just have to practice it.
yes. This is amazing. Okay, I know that we've got to end here. We're close on time. Are there any, and I'll put all these in the thing below. Are there any resources? And Abundance Academy is there. We're going to put that there.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely, I mean, we've got a lot of resources all over our website, but one of the things I think would be really helpful for this group, whether they're students or coaches or parents or anyone in this world, is I have a gratitude guide. And I put this together because it's really simple. Even my 5-year-old does it with me. And we've been doing gratitude actively since he's been a year and a half and started practicing his letters.
Wow.
A much slower rate. I had to spell every word for him. I mean, it's been an evolution. And I think gratitude is something that we can all start to do. And there's so many different ideas. There's 16 different ways that you can really amplify your gratitude practice and feel successful doing it. Whether you have a gratitude practice, you can elevate it and get some new ideas to light you up and to infuse you with some new creativity. Or if you've never done gratitude, it's meant to be really simple and just give it a shot. When I first started gratitude, I was like, successful people do gratitude. I'm going to do gratitude. And I just like check it off a list. I'm like, oh, did gratitude. Don't really care, but I got it off my list. Yes. Highlighter accomplished, right? Let me move on to the next thing. Let me move on to the next activity. And this is how a lot of students tend to live their life. Oh, done, next, done, next. When I finally sat down, one weekend, it was Thanksgiving Day weekend a few years ago, right before I wrote this, I did a gratitude challenge where I wrote 100 things I was grateful for a week leading up to Thanksgiving Day and on Thanksgiving Day. And so each day I did 100 things. And I was like, it was a bit of an emotional thing, because sometimes I'm like, oh, this is fine. This is fine. And then you get stuck and you're like, gosh, what else am I going to be grateful for? What else am I going to be grateful for? And there were parts and moments where I went through the motions. And then there was a moment each day where I flipped the switch and I was like, actually grateful.
Mm.
And just that flood of gratitude and stacking it on top of itself made me so grateful on Thanksgiving Day. And that Thanksgiving Day, there was like so much drama that happened. And I was like, this is the best day ever. And it was like the whole world could have been going up in flames. And I was like, wow, I'm so grateful. This is like such a beautiful day. Look at the leaf. Like I was just like, so I was in this state of bliss. And it was just such a different experience. It wasn't checking it off the list. I wanted to do it. And
Yeah.
it wasn't just doing the gratitude, it was everything else that happened around it. It's almost like you have an aura. And how bright does your light shine? Is it like bright and attractive, or is it like smelling like roses, or is it like dirty socks? Right? Are you giving off the vibe of dirty gym socks, or are you giving off the vibe of like a beautiful garden? And when this is something that I felt was really powerful, so I put it together, and it's going to show you how to do gratitude, like really do it, and just give you tips to make your gratitude practice more effective and authentic to you. So yeah.
That is awesome. Well, that's in the links below, so
Yeah.
you'll be able to share that with everybody. And thank you so much. This has really been good information, and I know that this will hit a lot of people, and they'll get something very valuable out of this. And it's so timely right now with the school year starting up and sports starting. So, uh, Larisa, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you to all of our listeners at Find My Teen Conversations. This was a good one.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure for being here. If you get one thing from this talk, I hope you get more, but if you get one thing, I want you to just take one thing and really apply it, because all you can do is one thing, and all you can do is one thing at a time. And I keep putting my finger up like this, because so often it's easy to forget, and we try to do it all at once. And when you do one thing, it really keeps it simple, and it allows you to get fully present and to bring yourself to the joy of what you're doing, because athletics are huge, right? I love athletics in America. I'm from Canada, but I know in America, you guys, it is a beautiful way to bring communities together, to bring hope and possibility to so many people. And it's just this absolutely incredible gift that you as coaches are giving students, but students are also giving one another, their peers, others in their community, as they step forward and rise to the occasion. So I thank you for being here, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Well said on the one thing. Great reminder too, especially with this community, because we are competitors, and we are in races, and life does get fast sometimes. But if we can just, practice uh slowing down a little bit more, calm down, not slow down. I did learn that we can maybe get more out of each and every minute that we're afforded in this life.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Larisa, and we will definitely maybe have to bring you back, because this is great.
I would love to be back. I'd love to be back. I love this conversation.
All right. Thanks again to all of our listeners here at Find My Team.